But if you never get any second dates, do you think you might be oversharing? Apparently, we are not aware, or a lot of us are not aware, what it means to overshare. Thanks again for tuning into Second Act TV. Once again, I want to welcome back Treva Brandon Scharf, the author of Done Being Single and host of Done Being Single with Treva and Robbie. Thank you, as always, for being here again, Treva.
Thank you for having me. I just love it here.
Well, I'm glad you do. What I want to talk about today, which is TMI, too much information. We actually did a video on that with you and Robbie about what is TMI and what isn't. And I went back through our playlist. You and I, we have done a ton of videos.
I know.
We can start our own channel, just the two of us.
Hello. What have we been talking about for years?
Well, anyway, TMI, so too much information on the first date. A lot of people find themselves on a lot of first dates, which, yeah, that's part of dating. But if you never get any second dates, do you think you might be oversharing? Apparently, we are not aware, or a lot of us are not aware, what it means to overshare.
You've made an interesting choice in guests for this piece, for this topic, because as much as I believe in discretion and discernment, and I believe, yeah, I do, I really do. I'm actually very old-fashioned and actually kind of modest myself. However, with that said, I've based my entire brand on honesty and authenticity and vulnerability. I mean, I wrote a book about it. And I mean, I really open up and I really go there. So in a way, I'm the best person to talk to, but in a way, maybe, there are some, I have mixed, feelings about it.
Yeah, that came across in the interview with Robbie. You guys need to watch that. That was really funny. Let's give some specific examples of what we mean by too much information on a first date. Now, this is first date stuff, which can run somebody off. The first thing, and I know you agree with this one, is exes. Talk about your exes.
It's great conversation, I have to say. I mean, it's like, how can you not? You're 50 plus, you've been around, like I said, for me, had been around the block, had a ton of dates, a ton of relationships, a ton of stories, a ton of experiences. Most of them were really funny. And I did share, but it was the presentation. It was how I framed it. Kind of in a comical way, in a lighthearted way. That's okay. You guys can, sort of banter about and compare notes and war stories. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're bashing and trashing,
exactly,
and bad mouthing, that is a whole other thing.
Yeah, that's a huge turnoff. And that apparently is just a big problem out there. And that's why it keeps coming up. If you research it, it's like, don't trash your exes. That is just going to send somebody else running. So that's a good example. Your crazy family is another one that came up. That, we all have crazy family. Well, most of us have, some kind of a crazy uncle, but not on a first date.
Well, my story with this, so my mom was, she was eccentric, and I did not tell Robbie, and both my parents were a little, they were out there in a lovely way. But I really kind of waited to at least introduce him to them. And even before I did, I really had to do like a preamble, I had to do like a disclaimer and, okay, you're meeting my mom, but
you weren't going to share her on the first date.
No. And I kept all of that. I mean, I just didn't want to overshare and somehow come off seeming like, oh no, she's got a crazy family and she's probably batshit herself. And so
that's it. That's where that goes. You don't even, you have to know somebody a little bit better before you do get into any details about your family that are just, a little out there. Sex. Here's another talk about sex on a first date. Don't we know that's a no-no? Apparently not, because it has to be pointed out.
That's very bad. It's just right up there with dick pics and sexting, and like after the first exchange of texts. No,
Yeah,
no, no, no. There's just, you can't
right.
ever do that. Don't go there.
Past and present problems, your whether we have financial problems, health problems, whatever problems, leave those until you know you're going to go down the road and need to share them. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, yeah. Again, you want to present yourself in the best light. You want to put your best face forward, and who doesn't have stuff? Who doesn't have baggage? Who doesn't have health issues? I mean, everybody has something, which I talk about in my book, because I happen to find that compelling to be
Mm-hmm.
able to relate and
Mm-hmm.
identify with someone else's pain and suffering. It's not always a bad thing. There could be really some great kind of common bonds to be made and established.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah.
again, it's that first date thing
Oh
where
God, no, no.
and yeah, people do that sometimes. You made a good point, establishing common bonds. You can when you share something in common like that, but again, on the first date, is that make sure you want to go down relationship row and don't make you turn your first date into some
Yes,
sort of a
yes,
therapy session.
yes,
So I think that's a really good point. But
yes.
you sort of brought us to the second part of this conversation, which is there's some obvious things that you shouldn't talk about. We just mentioned them. Then there's where's that fine line between too much information and being authentic? Are there heavier things that you maybe should share, or when do you share, such
Um,
as health
mm,
problems or
yeah,
that
yeah.
sort of thing? Mm-hmm.
Not first date appropriate.
Yeah.
I I think it's so important that you make that nice first impression without being a big fat phony. No one's saying that
Right.
but and it's very nuanced,
Mm-hmm.
because you can allude to certain things that you have going on in your life, and you sort of put your toe in the water there and kind of get some feedback and look for body language, and are they receptive to hearing more, and do
Mm-hmm.
they return, do they reciprocate with a little honesty?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're kind of like, all right, we got something going here.
Yeah.
He's honest, she's honest, I'm feeling supported and
Mm-hmm.
safe, and so I'm going to reveal a little bit more, maybe. But again, within reason. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries.
Boundaries. Yeah. One
Yes.
thing that you and I, this is so funny. You guys literally argued about this, and some of the people were like, "Oh, Treva was so mean to Robbie." They don't realize that this is a podcast where you have to. I thought it was hysterical. The disagreement was politics. You said that should be a first date, and he said absolutely not, because that will drive the conversation one way or the other, and it's just done. Does that need to be on a first date?
Okay. I think again, it's sort of by degree.
Mm-hmm.
It's how much can you reveal? Listen, yeah, I would say, I mean, politics is it's everywhere. It's all
Yeah.
around us. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's like the weather. How
Yeah.
can you not talk about? How can you not? And that's such as I guess a marker, or for lack of a better word, for where you are,
Yeah.
in like values wise.
Right.
Um,
Right. And I always agreed, always totally agreed with this until I interviewed, and you did too. I found the couple through you, Dr. Jeannie Schaefer and
yeah,
Richard Brookhiser. She wrote the book "I Love You, But I Hate Your
yes,
Politics."
yeah,
Great
yeah,
title. And he still is senior editor of the National Review. So talk
yeah.
about two opposites, and how they made it work really opened my eyes. I'm not saying don't do this, don't do that, but when you don't talk about it, you can make it work. And I don't want to drive our conversation around that, but it's just it was very interesting. I'll link to the.
Yeah, yeah, they are a great couple, and I love their
Mm-hmm.
story. I think that their politics could be a great opportunity to kind of have that moment where you're like, yeah, we're on the same page. This is good.
Mm-hmm.
Or you get just like, okay, back off. we are not on the same page, and let's table that conversation for maybe date 2, if there is a date 2. Yeah, I feel kind of strongly about that because again, it's so much in our consciousness.
It is. It definitely is. And again, I don't want to make this whole conversation about that, but yeah, leave your comments. Leave your comments. What do you think? Because is it too much information, or is it being authentic? The other thing is some really, at what point do you reveal stuff that is going to come out? If you go down relationship road, eventually this will affect your relationship. For example, health issues is a big one, or some sort of sexual dysfunction for women. And this is a great example. And I've actually have been asked to do a segment on this that I'm working on. But how do you reveal that you had a mastectomy? These are all things that will eventually affect the relationship. How do you deal with that?
Again, dating is an onion, and it is meant to be peeled slowly. It can be done in a way that's compelling and interesting and not a turnoff. And if this is why we go slow, people, so that as you get to know each other, you start to develop feelings. And by the time those things are disclosed, those personal things or health things or things that we have a little shame about, it kind of won't matter, because hopefully that person will like you anyway, and above and beyond that. And I mean, if they don't, and you reveal those things, it wasn't going to happen anyway. But I have a friend who has a new boyfriend. She's 60, about to turn 60, has a bunch of health issues. She has a bunch of stuff in her past, and she was so paced and measured in getting to know this guy, whom we fixed her up with, kind of. They're two friends of ours.
Good.
I got to hand it to her. It's 6 months, and she did a masterful job revealing all of her stuff, and she's got a ton of it. And so she put it out there in a way that was actually very compelling for him, and it made him want to know her more.
Oh, that's
great. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That makes a lot of sense. The one of the recommendations, going back to the mastectomy or something like that, which is, for lack of a better word, it's something disfiguring that if you get into an intimate relationship, will come out. She said that Joan Price again gave that advice to actually put that in your dating profile. Not that you had a mastectomy, but that you're a cancer survivor and had some complications with treatment. We'll talk about it, if we meet or whatever.
Okay.
Just to float it there, because she said, yes, that will have some people, will turn off some people, but you don't want them anyway. You don't want those people. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that?
Oh, that's a great question. There's a woman that came up with an idea, a concept called burn the haystack.
Oh, yeah, we're doing a whole segment on that. Yeah.
Okay. Burn the haystack, which means, in order to find your needle, just burn that shit down.
Right.
Forget looking through it, and be as online, be as focused as even if it eliminates a ton of people. Tell the truth, so that people who are interested won't mind and will want to get to know you. The health thing, that's a great question. There was a moment in The Golden Bachelor, which I just found adorable, when he pointed, I don't know if he just did it, he volunteered that I have a hearing aid, and one of the contestants said, I do too. Remember that moment?
Yeah, I do. That was in the beginning.
Yeah, it was sort of wonderful.
We're doing a whole segment on that too.
Okay,
Actually, I already did. Yeah,
okay.
I did that with Sandy, Haystack and Golden Bachelor. So we need to see where you and I are going to do, because there's so many topics in that regard. Yeah. But back to our TMI. Again, it's just something that I think needs awareness, that may be self-sabotaging simply by sharing stuff that we shouldn't, or that it's too soon, or it's
Yeah,
too
yeah,
late, but that
yeah.
that really requires some thought. It was another tip here: have I ever shared something about myself to cultivate a connection with someone, make someone else feel comfortable, gain someone's sympathy, or get someone's attention? That those are all markers for oversharing. So not,
Yeah,
not on the first date.
but maybe not. Like I said,
Mhm.
it's nuance.
Yeah.
Okay. Throw out a little bait there. See if they bite. And if they bite and it's reciprocated and it feels comfortable and they're giving you a safe space, you're onto something.
Yeah.
At least you're off to a good start. And I would just zip the doo-dah after that and leave it at that and go home and bang each other's brains out.
Yeah, we just did a segment on that. I'll link to that as well. Treva, you're always
No.
so much fun. As always, I will link to all of your information. I know you're working with quite a few of our viewers now who just love you. And of course, your book. If you love Treva at all, if you like Treva at all, you got to read the
Yes. Oh,
book.
yeah. More of this, where this came from. Thank you. And thanks to all of your viewers. I love your viewers. Keep the cards and letters coming, comments and your eyeballs and your interest. It's just so nice for both Silka and me. We feel it's a community, and I really think
Absolutely.
that. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Treva. Bye.